Captain Ryan Foster's boots clanged against the metal floor as he stepped off the transport ship. His daughter Kelly followed close behind, her backpack slung over one shoulder and hope flickering in her eyes. That hope wouldn't last long. Outpost Kepler, 7 stretched out before them like a corpse floating in space. 200 years of neglect had turned what might have once been humanity's pride into a rusted graveyard. Panels hung loose from the walls. Lights flickered weakly then died. The air smelled stale, recycled too many times through filters that had given up decades ago. Ryan's father had left them this station in his will. His last gift to his son and granddaughter. Some gift. Counselor Theron stood waiting at the docking port, his silver skin gleaming under the harsh lights. He was tall, like most of his species, with eyes that looked through humans rather than at them. In his long fingers, he held a data pad containing the ownership transfer documents. "Captain Foster," Theron said, his voice smooth as oil. "Welcome to your new property." The way he said property made it sound like garbage. Behind him, 3 other aliens from different species clustered together, watching the ceremony with barely hidden amusement. A blue-skinned trader nudged his companion. "Another human inheriting junk," he whispered loud enough for Ryan to hear. "Why do they even bother?" "Sentiment," replied a reptilian alien with a hissing laugh. "Humans cling to their past because they have no future." The others laughed. Theron didn't stop them. If anything, his smirk grew wider. Ryan kept his face neutral. He'd been a soldier long enough to know when to hold his tongue. He pressed his thumb to the data pad, accepting the transfer. The station was legally theirs now. For whatever that was worth. "Congratulations," Theron said, drawing out the word like a joke. "May you find great success here." He handed Ryan a physical key card, an ancient thing the station still used. Then he turned and walked away, his entourage following. Their laughter echoed down the corridor long after they disappeared. Kelly watched them go, her jaw tight. At 16, she'd already learned what the galaxy thought of humans. Second-class citizens. The species that lost. The race that got lucky just to survive. "Ignore them," Ryan said quietly, putting a hand on her shoulder. "I'm trying, Dad." They stood alone in the docking bay now. The transport ship had already pulled away, returning to the nearest civilized station 3 days' travel away. They were stuck here. This was home now, whether they liked it or not. Kelly pulled out her flashlight and engineering scanner. "Let's see what Grandpa left us." The corridors were worse than Ryan expected. Emergency lighting barely worked. Some sections were completely dark. Their footsteps echoed in the emptiness, a lonely sound that reminded them how alone they really were. This station could house 3,000 people at full capacity. Right now it held 2. Kelly's scanner beeped weakly as she ran diagnostics. "Main power is at 12%, she reported, her voice professional despite her age. She'd been learning engineering since she was 10, hoping to make something of herself. "Quantum core is completely dead. Life support is running on backup systems only. We've got maybe 30% functionality, and that's being generous." They reached what used to be the command center. Dust covered everything. Computer screens were cracked. The captain's chair had a hole worn through the seat. Someone had lived here once, worked here, believed this place mattered. Now it was just a tomb. "Dad, this place is falling apart," Kelly said. Her voice cracked slightly. She'd been trying to stay positive during the 3-week journey here, talking about all the repairs she could make, how they'd fix it up and make it profitable. But seeing it in person killed those dreams fast. Ryan walked to the main viewport. Outside, stars scattered across the black like diamonds on velvet. Beautiful and cold and impossibly far away. "Your grandfather believed in this place," he said softly. "He spent the last years of his life making sure we'd get it. There must be a reason." But even as he said the words, doubt gnawed at him. His father had been old, maybe confused. Maybe this inheritance wasn't a gift but a burden. A final joke at their expense. Kelly joined him at the viewport. "What if there's nothing here worth saving?" Ryan didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. They'd sold everything they owned to get here, burned their bridges with the settlement colony they'd been living on. This station was all they had left. If it was worthless, they were finished. "We'll figure it out," he finally said. "We always do." Kelly nodded, but her eyes said what they were both thinking. This time might be different. This time they might have finally run out of luck. The station groaned around them, metal settling in the cold of space. Somewhere in the distance, something sparked and went dark. Another system failing. Another piece of their inheritance crumbling away. They had 3 months of supplies. After that, they'd need to make this station work or abandon it forever. And abandoning it meant admitting defeat. admitting the galaxy was right about humans. Ryan refused to accept that. Not yet. 3 weeks of hard work had turned Kelly's hands rough and calloused. She'd spent every waking hour crawling through access tunnels, splicing wires and coaxing dead systems back to life. The station was slowly responding, like an old man learning to walk again after a long illness. Power was up to 28% now. Life support had reached 45. Small victories, but victories nonetheless. She was in sublevel 5, the deepest accessible part of the station, working on a power conduit that refused to cooperate. Sweat dripped down her forehead despite the cold air. Her engineering scanner beeped steadily as she ran diagnostics, checking power flow through the ancient cables. Then the beeping changed. A different pattern. Irregular. Kelly frowned and tapped the scanner. Sometimes these old devices glitched, but the reading stayed constant. According to her scanner, there was a hollow space behind the wall. A big one. But that made no sense. She pulled up the station blueprints on her tablet, checking the schematics. Sublevel 5 was supposed to be solid here. Storage rooms on one side, waste processing on the other. No empty spaces. That's weird, she muttered. She ran the scanner again, slower this time, paying attention to every detail. The readings were clear. Behind this wall was a room approximately 30 meters square. And stranger still, the metal composition was different. Denser. Older than the surrounding structure. Her heart started beating faster. This wasn't right. This was something hidden. Dad, she called into her radio. Dad, you need to come to sublevel 5. Now. Ryan arrived 10 minutes later, climbing down the access ladder with a toolbox in hand. What's wrong? Another system failure? No. Kelly showed him the scanner. There's a sealed room behind this wall. It's not on any blueprint. And look at the metal composition. This is pre-war construction. Way older than the rest of the station. Ryan studied the readings, his military training kicking in. Hidden rooms meant secrets. Secrets meant either treasure or trouble. You sure this isn't a scanning error? I've checked it 4 times. They stared at the wall together. It looked ordinary. Standard station paneling, dirty and worn like everything else. But behind it was something someone had gone through great effort to hide. We need to cut through, Kelly said. Ryan nodded slowly. Get the plasma torches. Cutting through took 2 hours. The metal was incredibly dense, resisting their tools. The plasma torches screamed and sparked, filling the corridor with acrid smoke. Kelly's arms ached from holding the torch steady, but she didn't stop. Whatever was behind this wall, she had to see it. Finally, the metal gave way. A section fell inward with a heavy clang. Cool air rushed out, fresh and clean, smelling of recycled oxygen. But that was impossible. This section should have been dead for 2 centuries. Ryan shined his flashlight through the hole. His breath caught. It's a laboratory, he whispered. They widened the opening and climbed through. Kelly's jaw dropped. The room beyond was pristine. Not a speck of dust. Lights hummed softly overhead, running on some independent power source. Computer terminals lined the walls, their screens dark but clearly functional. Strange equipment she didn't recognize sat on metal tables. Everything was organized, preserved, waiting. How is this possible? Kelly touched a computer terminal. The screen flickered to life at her touch, responding instantly. This tech is running. After 200 years, it's still running. Ryan walked to the center of the room where a larger terminal stood on a raised platform. The moment he approached, something activated. A holographic projector whirred to life above the terminal. Light coalesced into the shape of a woman. Kelly gasped. The woman in the hologram was maybe 50 years old, with short gray hair and tired but determined eyes. She wore a white lab coat with official Earth Science Division patches on the shoulders. This is Dr. Linda Foster, the hologram began, her voice clear and strong. If you're watching this, you're family. You carry my DNA. The door only opens for Foster bloodline. And if you're here, it means enough time has passed. It means humanity needs what I've hidden. Ryan felt like the floor had dropped away beneath him. That's Grandma Linda. His voice was barely audible. She died in the First Contact War. They said she was killed when the collective bombed Earth's research stations. But here she was, speaking to them across 2 centuries of silence. The hologram continued, and Linda's expression hardened. They didn't kill me. I went underground along with 30 other scientists. Project Prometheus was humanity's last hope, our secret weapon. The collective thought they won the war. They thought they broke us, scattered us, made us weak. They were wrong. They didn't win. We just stopped fighting where they could see us. Kelly moved closer to the hologram, transfixed. Her grandmother, a woman she'd only seen in old photographs, was suddenly real and alive and talking about secret weapons. "We discovered something the aliens never found," Linda said. "We discovered that human minds work differently than theirs. We can interface with quantum consciousness in ways their logical brains cannot comprehend. This laboratory contains the proof. This is our advantage. This is how humanity survives." The hologram flickered and pointed to a secured cabinet along the wall. "Everything you need is here. All the research. All the prototypes. Learn it. Master it. And when you're ready, wake the others. We planted seeds across the galaxy. You're the first to germinate. Don't let us down." The hologram faded, leaving them in stunned silence. Kelly ran to the computer terminals and began accessing files. Her fingers flew across the keys, her engineering knowledge letting her navigate the old systems. Folder after folder opened. Research documents. Test results. Blueprints for devices she couldn't even begin to understand. "Dad," she breathed, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. "This is quantum consciousness technology. This is beyond anything the aliens have. They don't even know this is possible." Ryan joined her at the terminal, reading over her shoulder. Page after page of revolutionary science. His grandmother's life's work, preserved and hidden and waiting for this exact moment. They'd inherited more than a broken space station. They'd inherited humanity's secret future. Kelly's fingers trembled as she opened the last file on her grandmother's terminal. The moment she pressed enter, everything changed. A deep hum vibrated through the floor, so low it was more feeling than sound. The walls shook. Dust that had settled for centuries suddenly danced in the air. Throughout the laboratory, equipment began powering up with electronic chirps and beeps. Lights brightened. Screens flickered to life. The entire room seemed to wake up after a very long sleep. Then the main terminal exploded with light. A sphere of blue energy formed above it, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Warning," a voice echoed through the room, gender-neutral and calm. "Unauthorized access detected. Scanning for authorization codes." Ryan instinctively stepped in front of Kelly, his soldier instincts kicking in. But before he could react further, red laser grids swept across both of them, scanning from head to toe. DNA analysis complete. Identity confirmed, Foster Ryan. Age 38. Former Earth Defense Force. Identity confirmed, Foster Kelly. Age 16. Third-generation descendant. Authorization granted. The blue sphere solidified into a more defined shape, almost like a face made of light. "Welcome home. I am Prometheus, Project Guardian Intelligence. I have been waiting for you." Kelly's mouth hung open. "You're an AI? You've been here the whole time?" "Correct. I have maintained this facility in hibernation mode for 207 years, 4 months and 18 days. Dr. Linda Foster programmed me to awaken only when her direct descendants entered the laboratory." The AI's voice carried something almost like emotion. "Relief maybe. I was beginning to think no one would ever come." Ryan found his voice. "What is this place? What did my grandmother do here?" "Dr. Foster was part of humanity's last desperate attempt to survive," Prometheus explained. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing images of Earth before the war. Cities gleaming under blue skies. Space stations bustling with activity. Before the first contact war, humanity was expanding, confident, reaching for the stars. Then we met the collective. The images shifted to show massive alien warships, battles in space, cities burning. Kelly had seen these pictures in history books, but seeing them here in this context made them feel more real and more terrible. "The collective had 1,000 years head start on us," Prometheus continued. "Their technology was superior in every measurable way. Their weapons were stronger. Their ships were faster. Their medicine could cure diseases we'd barely begun to understand. Humanity should have been wiped out completely. But we survived," Ryan said quietly. "You did. Barely." Earth's scientists worked around the clock to find an edge, any advantage. The collective excelled at biological engineering and energy manipulation. They built their civilization on logic and efficiency. So humanity's brightest minds asked a simple question: what could we do that they couldn't? The holographic displays changed again, showing complex diagrams that Kelly only partially understood. Quantum equations. Neural pathway maps. Strange geometry that seemed to fold in on itself. The answer was quantum consciousness, Prometheus said. The ability to interface minds directly with the quantum field that underlies reality itself. The collective's minds are powerful computers, but they're still computers. They think in linear patterns, logical progressions. Human minds think differently. How? Kelly asked, leaning forward. You dream. You imagine. You create art and music. You make intuitive leaps that have no logical explanation. The collective calls this chaos thinking. They see it as a weakness, proof that humans are primitive. The AI paused, and if a computer could sound proud, this one did. They're wrong. Your chaos thinking is actually quantum processing. Your brains naturally interact with probability fields. You just never knew you were doing it. Ryan shook his head, trying to process this. You're saying humans have some kind of psychic power? Not psychic. Quantum. Your creativity, your imagination, your ability to envision things that don't exist yet, this comes from your minds briefly touching quantum possibility space. Dr. Foster discovered how to amplify and control this ability. She created technology that lets humans consciously manipulate quantum fields. Prometheus directed their attention to a secured cabinet along the far wall. Locks disengaged with heavy clicks. The door swung open, revealing 12 devices mounted on individual pedestals. Each one looked like a smooth black sphere about the size of a basketball, covered in circuits that glowed faint blue. Reality anchors, Prometheus announced. These devices let trained human operators bend space-time, create pocket dimensions, and network consciousness across light years. With these, one human mind can do what takes the collective an entire fleet of quantum computers. Kelly approached the cabinet slowly, mesmerized. This is incredible. This is dangerous, Ryan corrected. He'd been a soldier long enough to understand what weapons looked like, even when they didn't look like weapons. If the collective finds out about this. They cannot, Prometheus said firmly. Which brings me to an urgent problem. When I activated, the station's power consumption increased by 4,000%. That surge was detected. Counselor Theron's ship changed course 17 minutes ago. He is now en route to this station. Ryan's blood went cold. How long until he arrives? 6 hours, 42 minutes. What does he suspect? Kelly asked. His official report states concern about possible weapons activation. He is bringing a full security team and scanning equipment. Prometheus paused. If they discover this laboratory, they will seize everything. The collective will study the reality anchors, reverse engineer them, and humanity's only advantage will be lost. Or worse, they will destroy everything to ensure you never use it. Ryan and Kelly looked at each other. 6 hours wasn't much time. We have to hide this, Kelly said, her mind already racing. But how do you hide a laboratory that's literally built into the station? Ryan stared at the reality anchors, an idea forming. You said these things can create pocket dimensions? Correct. Then we don't hide the laboratory. A grim smile crossed Ryan's face. We make it disappear. The alarm on Ryan's watch beeped. 6 hours had passed. Right on schedule, 3 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel just outside the station. Counselor Theron's personal cruiser led the group, flanked by 2 collective security vessels bristling with weapons and scanning equipment. Ryan stood at the main airlock, arms crossed, watching them approach through the viewport. His heart pounded, but he kept his face calm. Behind that calm mask, his mind raced through what Kelly was doing 3 levels below. The airlock cycled open with a hiss. Theron stepped through first, his silver skin gleaming under the station's lights. Behind him came 6 security officers from different alien species, all armed, all looking like they expected trouble. A 7th figure followed, a tech specialist carrying enough scanning equipment to find a needle in a planet-sized haystack. Captain Foster, Theron said, his voice dripping with false politeness. Thank you for receiving us. I didn't have much choice, Ryan replied. You didn't exactly ask permission. Theron's smile didn't reach his eyes. We detected unauthorized power signatures from this station. Significant energy spikes inconsistent with basic life support systems. As a collective council member, I have the authority and responsibility to investigate potential threats. Threats? We're fixing up an old station. That's hardly threatening. Then you won't mind if we conduct a thorough inspection. Theron gestured to his team. My officers will scan every level. This won't take long if you cooperate. Ryan stepped directly in front of the corridor entrance, blocking their path. This is private property. Legally inherited and registered under human colonist rights. You have no authority to search it without evidence of criminal activity. Theron's pleasant mask slipped. His eyes went cold. I have collective authority. That supersedes your human property laws. Now step aside, Captain, or my officers will move you aside. 3 levels below, Kelly's hands shook as she worked. Prometheus had walked her through the reality anchor activation sequence, but reading instructions and actually doing it were two very different things. The black sphere sat on the laboratory table in front of her, circuits glowing brighter as she initialized the startup sequence. According to her grandmother's notes, the device would sync with her neural patterns and respond to focused thought. The problem was her thoughts right now were anything but focused. "You must calm down," Prometheus urged. "The reality anchor reads quantum brain states. Fear and panic create interference. Breathe. Center yourself." Kelly closed her eyes and took 3 deep breaths, the way her father had taught her during stressful times. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Her racing heart began to slow. She placed both hands on the sphere. It felt warm, almost alive. The circuits pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. She focused on her grandmother's instructions. Visualize the space you want to shift. Imagine it folding out of normal reality. Picture it existing in a pocket of spacetime separate from everything else. The sphere hummed. Reality around the laboratory began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Kelly's vision blurred. For a moment, she felt like she was in 2 places at once, standing in the lab but also floating in an endless void of stars and darkness. Then everything snapped into place. The laboratory looked exactly the same, but Kelly knew somehow that it had moved. Not physically but dimensionally. They were in a pocket space now, a bubble of reality hidden from normal scanners. "Phase shift complete," Prometheus confirmed. "The laboratory is now undetectable from standard dimensional space." "Well done." Kelly collapsed into a chair, exhausted. "How long can I hold it?" "The reality anchor maintains the field automatically once established. You can rest." Back at the airlock, the confrontation escalated. 2 security officers moved toward Ryan, hands on their weapons. Ryan didn't budge. He'd faced down worse than this during the war. But he also wasn't stupid. This wasn't a fight he could win with fists or guns. So he played a different card. His hand moved to the communicator on his belt. With one press, he activated a broadcast signal that patched into every human colony network within range. His voice, his face, everything happening right now started streaming live to thousands of watching humans. "My name is Captain Ryan Foster," he said, looking directly at his communicator's camera. "I'm a veteran of the Earth Defense Force. My daughter and I inherited this station from my father. It's all we have. And right now, Counselor Theron of the Collective is threatening to seize it by force, without evidence, without trial, simply because he can." Theron's face went purple with rage. "Turn that off." "This is what happens to humans in collective space," Ryan continued, his voice steady. "We're mocked. We're pushed around. Our property rights mean nothing. I'm not a criminal. I'm not a threat. I'm just a father trying to give my daughter a future. But apparently that's illegal now if you're human." The message spread like wildfire. Within minutes, it was shared across dozens of colony networks. Humans who had faced similar treatment, who had been looked down on and dismissed, shared it with angry comments. News outlets picked it up. Human rights groups started broadcasting it. Theron realized his mistake too late. The political pressure was immediate and overwhelming. His communicator buzzed with messages from collective council members demanding to know why he was creating an interspecies incident over a dead space station. His security team scanned every level anyway, but they found nothing. They located the breach point in sublevel 5, saw the cut metal walls, but beyond that was just empty storage space. Their scanners showed nothing unusual. No hidden weapons. No illegal technology. Just an old man and his granddaughter trying to fix up their inheritance. "There's nothing here, sir," the tech specialist reported, confusion clear in his voice. "The power spike must have been old generators coming back online." Theron stared at Ryan with pure hatred. He knew, somehow he knew that something was wrong. But he had no proof, and now he had thousands of angry humans watching his every move. "This isn't over, Captain," Theron said quietly, his voice low enough that only Ryan could hear. "I don't know what you're hiding, but I will find out. We'll be watching this station. Every power fluctuation, every supply delivery, every ship that docks here. You've made an enemy today." Ryan met his gaze without flinching. "I just wanted to honor my father. If that makes me your enemy, so be it." Theron and his team left. Their ships pulled away from the station and jumped back into faster-than-light travel, disappearing among the stars. Ryan let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. They'd won this round. But Theron was right about one thing. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. 3 months passed in a blur of discovery and wonder. Kelly spent nearly every waking hour in the hidden laboratory, studying her grandmother's research with an obsession that worried Ryan. But he understood. This wasn't just science to her anymore. This was their family's legacy, their purpose, maybe even humanity's future. The reality anchors were far more complex than they'd first realized. Yes, they could manipulate space-time and create pocket dimensions. But that was just the beginning. The real breakthrough, the thing Dr. Linda Foster had spent her final years perfecting, was something far more profound. The devices could network human consciousness through quantum entanglement. Kelly had been studying the theory for weeks, reading and rereading her grandmother's notes, trying to understand the mathematics and physics behind it. The concept was simple enough. If two particles could be entangled and affect each other across any distance, why couldn't human minds do the same? But actually making it work, actually proving it, that was terrifying. She decided to try it late one night when Ryan was asleep. Maybe that was reckless. Maybe she should have waited. But curiosity burned in her chest like a fire she couldn't put out. She sat in the laboratory with one reality anchor active in front of her. Prometheus had walked her through the activation sequence. All she had to do was focus, open her mind, and reach out into the quantum field. Easy in theory. Terrifying in practice. Kelly closed her eyes and placed her hands on the sphere. It hummed beneath her palms, warm and alive. She took a deep breath and let her consciousness expand outward, the way her grandmother's notes described. For a moment nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. Her awareness exploded outward like a supernova. Suddenly she wasn't just Kelly anymore. She was Kelly, and she was something vast and connected and impossibly huge. She felt others. Thousands of them. Minds scattered across the galaxy like stars in the darkness. Each one a tiny spark of consciousness, dormant but present, waiting for something to wake them up. "Dad," she gasped, her eyes snapping open. Her heart hammered in her chest. Tears streamed down her face, though she didn't know if they were from joy or fear or pure overwhelming awe. "Dad, wake up. There are others." Ryan burst into the laboratory 3 minutes later, hair messy, still in his sleep clothes, looking ready to fight whatever threat had made his daughter scream. "What's wrong? Are we under attack?" No, nothing like that." Kelly laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "There are others, Dad. Descendants of the Project Prometheus scientists. They're everywhere. Scattered across the galaxy. Thousands of them. And they've been dormant this whole time, just waiting." Prometheus's voice filled the room, calm and measured. "Confirmation. Kelly Foster has successfully activated the Prometheus network. Long-range quantum scans detect 47,000 individuals carrying genetic markers linked to Project Prometheus scientists. They are distributed across 238 human colonies and settlements." Ryan sank into a chair trying to process this. 47,000 people? How is that possible? "Dr. Linda Foster's final protocol," Prometheus explained. "After the war, she and her team scattered. They joined different colonies, married, had children, spread their genetic markers as widely as possible. Each descendant carries dormant quantum neural pathways. They don't know what they are. Most have lived normal lives. But when activated, they become nodes in a network, a collective consciousness spanning light years." Kelly pulled up her grandmother's final log entry on the main terminal. The hologram of Linda Foster appeared one last time, older now than in previous recordings. She looked tired but satisfied, like someone who'd finished a marathon. "If you're seeing this," Linda's hologram said, "it means you've found them. My children, scattered like seeds across the galaxy. The collective believes they broke us during the war. They think humanity is finished, weak, barely worth noticing. They're wrong. We let them think they won because we needed time. Time to hide. Time to grow. Time to plant the seeds of what comes next." Linda's expression hardened with determination. Humanity's strength was never in having the biggest guns or the fastest ships. Our strength is that we dream. We imagine things that don't exist and then make them real. We adapt. We survive. We refuse to quit even when logic says we should. This station is the seed. You're the gardener. Water it well and humanity will bloom again. The hologram faded, leaving Ryan and Kelly in silence. Over the next 3 months they carefully, quietly began reaching out to the network. Not all at once. That would attract too much attention. Just a few people at first. A message sent through quantum channels only descendants could perceive. A whisper in their dreams. A feeling that they needed to visit Outpost Kepler 7. The first ship arrived 2 weeks later. A family of 4 from a mining colony 3 systems away. The father, a man named Tom Bradley, couldn't explain why he felt compelled to visit this old station. He just knew he had to come. When he stepped into the laboratory and touched a reality anchor, his dormant quantum pathways activated. He wept like a child. I always felt different, he whispered. Like I was waiting for something. Now I know what. More came. Engineers and farmers, teachers and traders, people from all walks of life. They arrived claiming to visit distant relatives or check out business opportunities. The collective monitors watching the station saw only harmless civilian traffic. They didn't know these visitors were nodes in a growing network. 6 months after the awakening, Outpost Kepler 7 was transformed. No longer a derelict joke but a thriving hub. Ships docked daily. The corridors echoed with laughter and conversation instead of empty silence. To any outside observer, it looked like a successful renovation project. A dead station brought back to life. Only those connected to the network knew the truth. Kelly stood on the observation deck one evening, watching another ship approach for docking. The stars outside seemed brighter somehow, more alive. She felt the network humming in the back of her mind, 47,000 human consciousnesses connected through quantum space, growing stronger every day. Ryan joined her, coffee in hand. Theron sent another message, she said, showing him her tablet. He knows something's happening. All this traffic to a supposedly worthless station. He's suspicious. Ryan smiled, unworried. Let him be suspicious. By the time he figures out what we're really doing, it'll be too late. Kelly leaned against her father's shoulder, feeling content for the first time in years. The station everyone mocked had become humanity's greatest secret. Her grandmother's desperate gamble had paid off. Humanity was awake, connected, growing stronger. And they were just getting started.